of no conference. I'm really excited, honestly. And I'm shouting because it's raining cats and dog here. It's pouring heavily, you know. But I'm happy to be here and I'm excited. My name is Vera Ona, and I'll be your host for this session. Okay? Okay, let me just go on. I'll start by thanking ATQ Community, 360 Connect, and Coach Stella for the opportunity to be here, to be your host. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. All right? And then we want a lot of people, as many people as possible, to partake and benefit from this session. So please, with all the joy in your heart, click on the like button and share on all your social media platforms. Please share. Let's get as many people join in. Let them hear about us today and let them benefit, okay? All right, and don't forget, remember to also follow us on YouTube. I'm actually shouting here. My roof is really heating up. Super. All right. So let's move on quickly. Today we had two sessions, the 8 a.m. and the 2 p.m. I wasn't able to join in the 2 p.m. So if you were there, how was it? How did it go? Can you drop a word to let us know how it went? If you were there in that session, I think Mrs. Ogo Ogwili, did I get that name right? Yes. She was the one that talked about helping children develop and grow their skills. If you were in that session, just drop an emoji. Let me see, one word that described how mind-blowing it was for you. Okay, so drop the emoji, drop a word. How was it? Was it phenomenal? Was it amazing? I'm trusting it was super duper amazing, okay? So drop that emoji. Let's see how it went for you, or a word. Okay, I'm waiting for that. So how was it? Okay, so I trust it was phenomenal. If you were there, I'm trusting it was amazing. All right. So this No Conference is brought to you by answering tough questions from children and teens, ATQ for short. We're a growing community of parents, carers, trusted and safe adults, okay? It is present on WhatsApp, we're on Facebook, and we're also on Instagram. Our main objective is to ensure that children and teenagers get the right, correct, and appropriate answers to their questions, and to ensure that parents, carers, and safe and trusted adults are equipped to give the right answers and have meaningful conversations. You know, when children will ask you questions and say, I think is, and then you make up stories. No, ATQ is not for that. We want to be equipped to get the right answers for our children and also for our teens, okay? We achieve this through our monthly webinar, How We Do It, where we learn and share our monthly book reviews and offering answers, suggestions, and solutions to questions sent to the community. So kindly click on the links and join our community. God bless you as you do so. Join our community today. You need to join. I'm there and I'm benefiting. You have to join too. Click on the links displayed so you could join, all right? So I'm thinking the link would be dropped now for you to click on it and join our group. It's beautiful. You need to be on that group. You will hear questions and then you will receive the right answers to these questions, okay? So please join and join and join. Okay. time. Testimony time. People of God, shout my breakthrough time. Okay, let's take a quick review from one of our members. Any review?
Hello there. My name is Barrister Adana
Let's get
Samuel.
reviews, okay?
I'm a member of the ATQ family, answering tough questions. I joined ATQ 2021. I think when it started, when it was at the beginning stage of ATQ. And I must say that ATQ has been very impactful in my parenting journey. One of such activities that impacted my life would be... Hello there, my name is Barrister Adana Samuel. I'm a member of the ATQ family, answering tough questions. I joined ATQ 2021. I think when it started, when it was at the beginning stage of ATQ.
What have you done? Personally, hello there. Christ. It has built me up. It has helped me to know that parenting is intentional. You can't just parent anyhow. You have to be intentional about it. That's what ATQ taught me. That's what I learned. I'm actually an intentional parent now. I'm mindful of what I say. I'm mindful of what I do. I remember my daughter is, as at the time she was 5 years old, and she said, "Mommy, you and Daddy will always tell me that God created this world in 7 days. How can you people say that? You continue to tell me this, and Daddy has not stopped every time. Oh, do you know God created the world?" I said, "Yes, right? How can God create this whole world, this mighty world and everything in it in 7 days?" This is the 5 years old. And I'm telling her, that is the wonders of God. I'm not just saying I am equipped and I am ready to answer. And that is my testimony. I am intentional. I am being mindful. I'm more prayerful. I'm even mindful as to the things my children watch these days. I'm really mindful. And that is it for me. If we can get the testimony, it is fine. But if we do not get that testimony video, I think we'll continue. But I'll seek the permission of my coach Stella to grant me that permission. If we can. Hello there.
Yes, please let's go on. Let's go on straight to the business of the day. Thank you so much.
ATQ family.
Let's go on.
Questions. I joined ATQ 2020.
The testimony is on.
I think when it started, when it was at the beginning stage of ATQ. And I must say that ATQ had
our amazing speaker. Before I mention her name, she's one of my many mentors, and she doesn't know. I've listened to her a lot, and I've been blessed. I've attended, I think, if not more than 4 of her trainings, and each of them has been mind-blowing. I love her energy. I love her positivity. When I hear of the speaker, I won't mention her name yet. When I hear of her, when her name pops up anywhere, I'm thinking impact. I'm seeing children. I'm seeing teenagers. saying it is possible. And she's no other than Mrs. Irene Bangwell. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Vera. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I've had a marathon day, so I don't know why I thought that this meeting was scheduled for Tuesday. Maybe I was really excited about the session. So I thought this session was on Tuesday, and I had a coaching session with another family from 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. So it's only this morning that I realized I was today. So it's been a crazy day. I'm all sweaty, but I hope you guys can manage me like that. Because if I had gone to take care of myself, I would have been very neat. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Stella, for having me. Thank you, Vera, for your kind words. I don't take it for granted. I give God all the glory that He can, put stuff on our mouth that can be a blessing to others. Thank you so much. Can I begin?
Oh, I think we'll have to play your bio. Auntie Stella, should we do that?
Okay.
The one I did was an intro. There's another one.
Okay. Stella, please, if you can hear me, please play her bio. Thank you. Would I be able to see the bio?
Irene Bangwell. Irene Bangwell is an educator and a parenting coach. As an educator, Irene and her husband Kingsley are the co-founders of the Knox 100 Naira a Day Secondary School project. This is a private public secondary school designed for children from low-income families. As a parent coach, Irene is the creator of the Body Smart Bundle for Girls, a biblical abstinence-based sex education tool for girls, educators, and parents of girls. She is also the convener of the Body Smart Girl Virtual Holiday, where she teaches body safety to girls aged 3 to 17. She is the convener Safer Christmas Carnival, a family body safety event that seeks to empower parents and children on body safety culture. Mrs. Bangwell holds a bachelor's degree in banking and finance from the University of Calabar, a postgraduate diploma in education from the University of Ilorin, and executive education certificate in leaders of learning from Harvard-X. Welcome, Irene Bangwell, as she speaks on the topic, raising girls with healthy values who can thrive amidst moral decadence.
I'm waiting. At the moment, it's not yet activated.
Okay. So, ma'am, you would have 45 minutes for this session.
Okay.
Yes, you
Thank you so much.
Minutes. All right.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. I think I can start having a conversation before I'm able to share the slides so that we can use the time well. It's an honor to be here. I never take for granted any opportunity I get to, bring the word as God puts it in our heart when it comes to raising kids. So I've been honored today to come speak on raising girls who thrive in a world. I mean, look at the world that we're living in today, and that's what I just want to talk about. So my name is Irene Bangwell. I'm a raising girls coach. I'm very passionate about supporting families raising girls and the girls themselves, on how they can make wholesome decisions, wholesome sexual decisions, wholesome life decisions. So I'm the creator of the Body Smart Girl Bundle that teaches girls about Bible-based sex education. So tonight I'm going to start out sharing with us. I don't have the permission. Okay, I have it now. Thank you. I'm going to start out tonight just talking to us about what does it mean for a girl to thrive in today's world, all right? Because I can imagine that what thrive meant in our parents' time is definitely what thrive means today. So the first thing I wanted us to explore was what the word thrive means. What does it mean when we say something or a person is thriving? And so the first thing I just wanted us to have in our head is that it means that the person is growing and developing, but then it also means that there's prosperity and bloom. When I was working on this slide, one of the first things that came to my mind was it means that at each phase of your child's life, they're supposed to be growing, they're supposed to be developing, they're supposed to be prospering, and they're supposed to be blooming. So what that means is that there's what thriving means for a 3 to 5 year old that is different in a 6 to 8 year old, that is different in a 9 to 11 year old, that is different in a 12 to 14 year old, that is also different in a 15 to 17 year old. So for example, a 6 to 8 year old that can speak up about what she feels and share her feelings could be said to be thriving in how she's articulating her emotions. But when she's 15 to 17, we want her to do more than speaking up. We want her to prevent certain things. We want her to take responsibility for how she contributed to a process. So what we're celebrating at 6 to 8 ceases to be a point of celebration at 15 to 17. And so it means that as our children are growing, they need to acquire certain skills. When they get those skills, we can say essentially that they're thriving. So growth and blooming does not mean that there are no challenges. Like some parents can sit out there and say, oh, if my child has a challenge, then they're not thriving. Or my child lied yesterday, they're not thriving. So blooming means that there is growth in spite of resistance. There is growth in spite of challenges. So let me give a quick example. A parent said their child has a lying problem, and they braced up, learned what they needed to learn, started building the skills they needed to build, in the child, started exposing the child to the knowledge the child needs to have, and before you know it, the child overcomes it. That is thriving. As long as we live on this side of eternity, we will meet challenges. And every time you meet a challenge, you have the choice to rise to the occasion or allow your ego as a parent to interfere. So they call you from school and say your child has a lying issue. They lied on the playground, they lied to this teacher, they lied to that teacher, and you get defensive because then you're trying to protect yourself. Well, one of the first things I want you to know today is that children are better people through the challenges they overcome. In fact, if your child had a lying problem and you taught them how to go through it, the first thing you've done is that you've taught your child that people can overcome. And you've also shown your child how to overcome from what they say to themselves. So actions they take, to things they avoid, to things they start to do, helping them to overcome. So before you know it, you've given them a blueprint to overcoming challenges. And that blueprint essentially is a true taste, a true test that your child is thriving. So I want to get that out of the way, that when we use the word thrive, it doesn't mean your child is not having challenges. For instance, in a world where there's moral decadence, you wake up one day and your child looks at you and says, Mommy, what if homosexual people were really born that way? And you go, look, God forbid. Oh, they've sent Satan, the arrow has been shot into my family. My child is struggling. You say, no, baby, let's talk about it. Why did you ask me the question? What is making you think? That's the right response. I'm saying this because this community is called asking tough questions. Am I correct? And so you start to ask the child, say, so honey, what made you ask this question? Say, well, my classmate told me about one guy. He used to do music. His parents abandoned him. And before you know it, blah, 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 blah. Now the child starts to give you a context for the question they're asking, which is helping you know what they really want to know beyond the question they're asking. And so it gives you the opportunity to say, well, many people will go through a lot of challenges, but when they don't let God in, or when they don't really open up to God, Satan can make a lot of suggestions that become reality to them. We ought to pray for them, we ought to care for them, but we are not going to change biblical principles to suit our friends. And so this is what the Bible says about homosexuality, but we recognize that some people are there because they were abused. We recognize some people are there because they believe all kinds of things. We also recognize some people are there because of societal pressure. That's the contemporary conversation happening now. And so in the process, you've literally shown your child origin, influence, position. Origin of the thoughts, the influences of the thoughts, but what's our position? Our position is Bible. Now, your child goes away with that blueprint. The day somebody else brings up another thing, your child says, what's the origin? What are the things influencing me? What's the Bible position for it? So your child is thriving. The question did not mean that your child had derailed. The question meant that God gave you the opportunity to come in and equip your child. And the equipped child is a thriving child. But you need to remember that many times it's challenges that birth the need to equip the child. It's questions that birth the need to equip the child. So I've been saying all of that to just lay the foundation that the concept of thriving means your child succeeds, your child overcomes, your child grows, your child blooms, the child becomes the version that God designed for them to be. All right. So I want to thank the team once again for bringing me here. I'm really grateful. I don't take this for granted. I've already searched out the Facebook group and I've sent my request. Please add me to the group. I like to be a part of all the tough questions that are being asked on the group. All right. So now that I've told us what the meaning of thrive is, what does the opposite of thrive look like? Number one is depression. So people say, I notice that these days, everybody's just throwing the word depression around. I remember talking to one of my friends. He'd gone through a really hard time. He'd been in banking. And I think he ventured out to start his own bank and things didn't quite look up. And so he was going through a really difficult time. He was just showing up there in church, here and there, just following God either ways. And before you know it, things started looking up. So he said one day he was somewhere and they played a video about symptoms of depression. And behold, everything they listed, he had been through them, but he didn't know it happened. When people are depressed, they have this symptom and personalities. Our children don't know their learning styles. For example, in my home, all my children know each other's learning styles. I have a child that if she needs to read, she has to read it out to hear herself. And for her siblings, you go somewhere else. No noise, thank you. You've been quiet so far, I appreciate that. Open the door. So she wanted to use the bathroom. That would just interrupt this whole session for us. Thank you. So self-awareness is a child's ability to know who they are. So this is what happens when they are confronted with challenges. They know. So for instance, if you have a daughter that is dealing with sibling rivalry and she's always bullying, if she has a personality that is domineering and she knows that she has that problem, she likes to dominate. When you're giving her feedback that you're not pleased with the sibling rivalry, she's aware of what is in her that is making that issue, exist. She can know that I know I can be bossing on. What the child can say, I know I have this issue. They can know what to do to check themselves. So when they have an issue, they are aware of how they contribute to it. They are not making excuses. They are not blaming everybody. They are not saying this one causes that. I remember when my kids were young. In fact, this one has happened this evening. One of my daughters went to my car to pick something and she said that the door hit her leg. And I said, you mean it? The door got up, hit your leg. And then she started laughing. I said, because I need us to know how we contributed to this. And she said, well, they will now figure it out that, well, the dog cannot just get up and hit me. I didn't look properly. That self-awareness is critical. So we must build it in our children. They need to know how they're different from each other. We need to celebrate that difference. So for many of us parents, we know our children's differences, but we don't tell them. Or we don't tell them in a way that shows their strength. We bring it up only when it's time for weakness. So for example, I'm not calling anybody's name. one of my daughters has a very beautiful handwriting. The other one has a seasonal one. I didn't call anybody's name. Everybody's aware. I didn't say who is what. So I'm not supposed to bring up that topic only when I'm correcting her for her handwriting. Do you understand? When I now want to talk about how different they are, I say, your sister writes better than you. No, that's not what I mean. I mean celebrating their differences. One of my daughters is more expressive, about love. And so maybe I went to work and I took a long time. When I come, I know the one that is crying. And she's like, Mommy, I miss you. And she's crying. And so the other one is like, come off it. I'm like, no, you both love me differently. Hers has to come with that. You also love me, but it doesn't have to come with that. So helping children know who they are is important for their self-esteem. By the way, self-esteem is not affirmation. It's not making children say things. They can be saying things they don't believe. They can be saying things that is not going in. So it's not as solid as becoming self-aware. When they become self-aware and they affirm and say affirmations, it has a better strength. The second part of it is self-acceptance. Many of our children know who they are, but they don't like who they are. That means they want to be somebody else. So when they get to a situation that there is pressure, they want to switch personality. When they go to school and they feel like, everybody, remember I said thriving arises from challenges. So they go to school, people are making friends and they are not carrying them along. Because they don't accept themselves, it's easy for them to want to change to fit the group. So they met a challenge and they declined because they shut down their own personality so that they can take on another personality that is convenient for the people around them. In that moment, they're not thriving. Thriving is saying, well, this is who I am, and I'm going to wait until I find someone who's cool with me. So our kids must accept themselves, but we have to model that acceptance to them. For example, I'm able to look at my two daughters and say, I love this about you. I love this about you. There's nobody that is the standard of the good child here. You are both different versions of the gift that God has sent to me. So if we want our kids to accept themselves, we have to accept them, So sometimes I give one of my kids a task and the other one say, why didn't you come? I say, because this one has this strength. Another day I say, this is the one I want to do that task because this one has this strength. So they recognize that they're different and they have, different strength, different weaknesses, but everything, makes them up. We shouldn't pick our children and say, I like this good part, I don't like this other part. They're a compact experience, they're a total package. So I love both ways. And because I also recognize that sometimes weaknesses is a distraction. So for instance, I have a daughter that is a social, what's in the column? Social butterfly. She just added it for me. As I said social, she threw it in butterfly. She's a social butterfly. Right now, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't always work for me. For example, we are going to church and we arrive at the foyer of the church and she runs and hugs a random person. When she was much younger, she would do it and this will literally drive me nuts. But do you know something? It's about the season. She's 23, post-NYSC. She's going for employment. She's able to have chit-chat with the people that can help her. So some of the things that we call weakness and label our children and make them embarrassed about is something that is there for a season. And in that season, it will come. In this season, I'm teaching body safety. I'm teaching boundaries. I'm saying do handshakes. But I'm going to need that social butterfly at some point in her life. So the things that we are embarrassed about in our children, some of it is a gift. Some of it is a gift. You have a son that likes to be in the kitchen and you're like, what is it? You eat too much. You eat too much. It's going to come in handy. It's going to be useful. So don't label them about the negative because when they show up in front of a challenge, will they accept who they are? Will they be able to see that they can, overcome this challenge? Or are they going to consistently be focused on what is their weakness? I'm looking at my own childhood and the childhood of many people that are my peers. We knew our weaknesses more than our strength. Our parents drove our carelessness more than our strength. I remember when one of my aunts used to call me clumsy something. She kept saying I was so clumsy. And when I look back, she had every reason to say I was clumsy. But so ask me now, did I stop being clumsy? Well, I've grown. I handle things better. But I'm spontaneous. That clumsiness is in the spontaneity. Today, I run a non-profit school. and I run a girl coaching business, there is no way. When I sit back and look at my checklist on some days, what I'm to do, spontaneity is the energy that takes me through the day. And so it's become useful in another season of my life. So many of my friends will sit down and say, as Irene, they think she don't send them to graphic designer. So by morning, I've posted it. Because if I sit down and give it a second thought, I'll just shut down my girl coaching program. Because the school needs me 24/7. And I know God is, in fact, sometimes I have to say, Holy Spirit, how could you give me these two things at the same time? I mean, how do I do this? And so I realized that spontaneity was a gift. You get the idea? Because if I over-reason it, I won't do it. But in that season, it was called being clumsy. You're in a hurry to finish something. But now I'm grown, I run a school, and I sit down and I realize my team members will be saying, Madam will see that mistake. So if I wasn't paying attention to details, we exaggerate feedback. Like a child broke a cup and you've taken from breaking cup and you say they've broken their destiny. Do you get the idea? So they exaggerated our own feedback. So if you meet a typical adult today, they know more of their weakness than their strength. They won't accept themselves. And the final leg for self-esteem for me is self-respect. Our children must become self-aware. They must be taught to accept themselves. Then they must be taught to respect themselves. Someone say, how do you teach a child to respect herself? It's simple. They need to watch what they think about themselves, how they describe themselves. There's a way it is. You think, you say, you act. What you think about yourself. So I'm always asking my daughters, what did you think at that moment? What is on your mind at that moment? So they need to change how they think about themselves, how they describe themselves in their words, and the action they take towards themselves. When my kids were really young, and we're watching a movie, I'll start seeing somebody wiggling. I'll just stop and say, you want to wiggle? She says yes. I'll say, pause the movie. You can't suffer your bladder because of entertainment. Treat yourself right. Somebody is hungry, go and eat and say, Mommy, I just want this episode to finish. I'll say, pause it. Go and get food and eat. Learn how to pause and honor yourself. Learn how to pause and take care of yourself. Because when our kids meet challenging times, it's that self-respect and self-honor that will guide the decisions that they make. All right? And so that's it. That's the first pillar. Your child has a healthy self-esteem means they are self-aware, they accept themselves, and they respect themselves. So they're in school, someone says, to be our friend, you have to do this. And your daughter can step back and say, why would I deprive myself just for you to like me? That's self-respect. You say, I can't do that to myself. Do you understand? I can't do that to myself. And so it's not about the child saying, I am beautiful, I am great. We all say things that we don't mean. So to make sure that your child's self-esteem is an inside job, you have to make sure that there's self-awareness, there's self-acceptance, and there's self-respect. And then I bring the second pillar. The second pillar is about body safety. Kids who thrive today, one of the core about today's generation is sexuality. So if you're a parent and you're not offering sex education at home, your daughters will not thrive. Unless God puts another person on their pathway to provide them that sex education. You know why? By the time your children turn 9, 10, and they start going through puberty, the challenges are now on a rolling basis. So the more education they have with regards to puberty, having crushes, and all of that, the better. Before I talk about this body safety and the pillars I wrote down here, I just wanted us to know about this fact. One of the key differences between boys and girls has to do with the impact of their self-esteem on them. Studies show that boys with high self-esteem are more likely to initiate sex. Boys with high self-esteem will initiate sex. They'll ask girls out. They want to do stuff. They want to touch them. Boys with low self-esteem know they're near girls. But the flip side of it is that girls with low self-esteem are 6 times more likely to have sex than girls who have a high self-esteem. That means girls go to boys to compensate for their lack of self-esteem. That's why I started this point with self-esteem. So when they get into the puberty phase of their life, if they don't have a rock-solid self-esteem, you have a big problem in your hands. they will stumble, they will take risks, they will make mistakes. Is it sharing nudes? I mean, you will sit down and think that, well, my daughter should know that she shouldn't share her nudes. Well, you think that she should know, but is she self-aware? Is she self-aware that she's a people pleaser? Is she self-aware that she has that weakness? Is she self-aware that she's supposed to channel it in a way that it doesn't bring her harm because of the pillar of self-respect? Well, if she doesn't know this one, have you thought about her about body safety? Have you thought about her about sex education? Because if she also doesn't have that knowledge, the lack of self-esteem is going to drive her to do things that hurt her so badly. And when they hurt her, they will hurt you. You get the idea? When they hurt her, they will hurt you. So self-esteem is very critical. And then when it comes to body safety, what is body safety? It's teaching children how to protect themselves from sexual harm. But it's also teaching children how to make responsible decisions when it comes to sex, when it comes to sexuality conversations. So how do we teach children? How do you teach sex education? You teach it by providing knowledge to children, age-appropriate knowledge. What should your child know for this age? Remember when I said thriving is in ages and stages. What should my child know at this age? What can my child be exposed to? What sexual harmful situations can my child be exposed to? There are sexually harmful situations that a 3 to 5-year-old will face that a 15-year-old will not face. All right? There is a phase that your children get into. It's not people coming on them. It is them showing up and being willing to participate. So with body safety, we provide adequate knowledge, relevant knowledge, age-appropriate knowledge. Then we don't stop at knowledge. We give skills. I usually talk about, whenever I'm talking about this, I like to use 3 to 5-year-olds, for example. So a 3 to 5-year-old, one of the risks they will face is caregiver molestation, right? So sex education for them includes things like the private part and your public part, so people don't touch. If they touch, you speak up. When your auntie is wiping, counts for her. She shouldn't wipe you more than 4 times with the wipes. 1, 2, 3, 4. When it's more than 4, there's a problem. So you can tell auntie, stop, it's okay. But the skill inside is even in telling your child to hold auntie's hand and say, auntie, stop, it's okay. That's a skill. If you use knowledge and say, don't let anybody touch your private part, don't let anybody touch your private part, and there's no skill that says, count how many times they wiped you, hold their hand to stay stop. How does the child really execute the knowledge you've given? So your 15 to 17-year-old, you can't be telling her public and private part. Her reality is that she likes a boy, she wants to make out with him, she thinks that they're going to marry. So skill for her will be sitting down to think through, am I ready to marry? If I do this, what are the consequences? Why am I feeling pressure that I will lose him if I don't accept what he's offering me? So you offer her a skill to say, when you start to feel, when you see this person and you feel like they're pressuring you to do wrong, you start to avoid them. You start to not spend a lot of time with them. You start to talk to your mind. You start to have self-talk. You can go to the bathroom and talk to yourself and remind yourself that someone who honors you will not want to make out with you. Someone who wants to do something that doesn't honor God cannot honor you. And if there's no honor of God in it, there's no love in it, That's skill. So because talking is not enough, but providing them skill is very critical. And then after that, we need to show our children case studies. For example, can you see how many stories I've told today since I started? Bits and pieces and bits and pieces. Sometimes you may not remember the body of what I told you, but you can remember the stories that I told you. So in providing body safety education, we're also asking the children, for example, maybe the boy you like in school called you and said this. Instead of going to where the boys hang out during break, go to where the girls are. So you start to give your children real situations where they can use this knowledge you pass on to them. Real situations, all right? So that's what I call the case study experiences, case experiences, where you say, in this case, what should you do? In that case, what should you do? And when you start to talk about case experiences, you will notice that your children will start to suggest to you cases. Say, mommy, daddy, what if what about in a situation where they start to bring to you the situations where either themselves or their friends have been in, and they start to ask you how to help them navigate. Sweetheart, drop that book. It's my personal journal. Thank you. You get the idea? Sorry about the interruption, please. So because you're now bringing cases and they're sharing their own, the body safety education becomes very effective. And then the final pillar is, as you talk to your children, don't talk from instruction. Talk to them to build conviction. Share with them why they should do certain things. So you told your daughter not to act on her crush. Why? Don't be the old school African parents that said, how dare you ask me why? When I say go left, go left. When I say go right, go right. You can't question me. You can't be that parent. Your child has to make a decision when you're not there. So when you're not there, I used to tell parents this, what will your child do when they know that you would never catch them? When you say, my daughter knows me now, if I handle her, well, what if somebody shows her a way to do it without you ever getting to know? So you need to know that this is an inside job. You want to make sure you convince her that a certain lifestyle, a certain set of choices is the safer way, is the more helpful way. I mean, one of the things that, I didn't know I could ever say this, but it's true. One of the things that being raised by a single mom without knowing my dad, one of the things that he has helped me is that he has given my children a case in point for how not to make certain choices. So like they would ask me, what does it feel like? And I'll tell them. What does it feel like? And I'll tell them. And so they make a mental note that, oh, if I make this kind of choice, I could end up creating a child who went through the same kinds of difficulty like my mom did. And so in that moment, it's not instruction anymore, it's conviction. So let us not be content with saying, sometimes I meet parents, and they're really content with saying, I don't tell my people, I've told my daughter, she knows. No, I want to hear that my daughter believes. It's two different things. She knows and she believes. That means even when I'm not around her, these are the kinds of choices she's going to make. When I'm not there, when I don't know what the challenge she's dealing with, I can count on the fact that she will thrive because I have built in her this conviction. I was talking to my daughter this evening just before I came, and we were eating. And they told me that I had promised them that when they wake up early in the morning and do their chores, they will earn a token. And then we will calculate that token at the weekend and they earn TV watching time. And so while we're sitting down there, they reminded me that weekend is in 3 days old, that I promised them that if they wake up early, they will watch. And I reminded them this morning that when they woke up, they were slow to go and bathe, and I had to remind them to do their chores. So one token out. And so that's how one of my daughters said, man, I need to set my alarm. And the other second one said, God is my alarm. And what she meant was that if I tell God that I want to wake up by 4 a.m., He will wake me up. I felt good inside because that is conviction of who God is to her. It's not instruction. It's not let's go to church. We are Christians. I now know the workings of God. I can tell God that I want to be up at this time and He will wake me up. So a totally unrelated conversation can pull out your children's convictions about different things. You get the idea? So this thing is an inside job. You will not always be there. You could send your kids to boarding, away to grandma's place, to a friend's place. They could be somewhere. What convictions do they have? And how will those convictions build their lives? And so that is for the second point about 5 things daughters need to thrive. Their self-esteem is one. And the second thing is their body safety. So why should you talk to your children about body safety? Number 1, you want to protect them from sexual harm. Number 2, you want them to make responsible decisions sexually. And then number 3, you want to make sure that when people start to bring up different kinds of conversations, your daughters have conviction to respond. So that when they go outside, everything they hear does not knock them off. Too many children are going outside and hearing things and going, wow, wow, wow. And they're saying wow at very stupid things. Simply because they were not knowledgeable from home and they didn't build conviction. So if you don't want the world to wow your child, you need to equip them from home. So that by the time somebody is trying to bring up a thought, your children can answer. I have a policy in my family that I must teach my children about sex first before their teachers. And so the age for me is age 9. And as a teacher, I know that it is in their basic science curriculum. And if it is not towards the end of first term, it's in the early term of second term. So I kind of like to corner my children around early first term and we start talking about sex. The reason is that their teachers say it first, their classmates will tell them what to think. So I remember doing this with my first daughter, and she went to school, and her teacher brought the Almighty Talk, part of basic science. And by the time the teacher talked about reproduction and talked about sex, her classmates started giggling. And I've told my children that any child that giggles about sex does not have adequate sex education. Because when they have adequate sex education, there's nothing ticklish about it again. You know, you've expanded on it. They now know the head and tail. There's nothing to laugh about. So my daughter said by the time she got to class, her classmates started talking, and they equated rape to sex. You know how children will joke and say, don't rape me or don't rape me. That's how they talked that day. My daughter was upset. She said she had to gather the class and school them and tell them, I'll bring you a book tomorrow. I'll bring you my mommy's book tomorrow. Remember, her mommy's book is for girls. So she packed the books, went to school the next day. Both boys and girls, they came to read. So imagine that she wasn't knowledgeable. Many parents are trying to correct what other people already planted. The law of first mention applies in many of these things. The first person who tells your child about sex determines the color that it takes. The second person is merely trying to correct. So the first time your child hears about sex, if they hear it from a Bible point of view, I keep talking about Bible. I'm sure this platform doesn't have a problem with it. All right? So if they hear from a Bible point of view, before the world starts to wow them, they're like, I already know it. So when they talk one, your child will counter it with two. The Bible says something very significant in Psalm 127. It says your children answer them at the gate. Do you know what it means? You can't be at the gate all the days of your children's life. You're not at the gate in school. You're not at the gate in the neighborhood. So your kids need to be equipped enough to answer whatever it is that is being thrown at them. And so that moves me to the third thing. It gets lighter, all right? So the third thing is life skills. We need to teach our girls to think, to plan, to problem solve. We need to teach them how to nurture, how to speak. So what does thinking mean? How do you teach your children to think? Involve them in day-to-day things. It takes thinking to build menu. I involve my children to draw up the menu for the house. I involve them to draw schedules and rota for the week. You know, where they're planning, everybody needs to get a chore-free day. So my first daughter will draw the chore schedule. My second daughter will draw the menu. And when my second daughter draws the menu, we are ready because it will be 6 meals a day. There's brunch, there's snack, there's nightcap. She's fitting in everything. And she's always looking forward to drawing that up. And then when you don't follow it, she'll say, Mommy, no nightcap, no nightcap. I've already written it to use it and go to the market. I put them in those things because it builds their thinking skills. When kids get stuck, they have to think their way out. And they will not learn to think in the day of adversity. I mean, we just watched a girl that made Guinness Book of Records. How will we not talk about that one? She did not wake up last week to cook for 100 hours. It is years and years of preparation, building her, working on her weight, building her stamina, planning, and all of the things that came with it. In the same vein, if you want a child to thrive, give them the skills they will deploy to thrive. And one of it is thinking. Involve them in problem solving. If your children have issues and they come to meet you, for instance, one of my daughters today walked up to me that her sportswear was wet. And the next thing I started giving her ideas of go and wear this. She said they will be upset with her in school. When I was done, I had a check. And what checked me was just problem solving for her. She comes to meet you that, my sportswear is wet. Tell her, so what should we do? What do you want to do? What do you think you should do? So that you don't baby them at the point where they should be making independent decisions. So before you start volunteering ideas and solutions as a parent, we must always stop and ask our children, what are you thinking? What do you want to do? Because it builds their thinking muscle, which is what they use on the days of adversity. We need to teach our children how to speak, how to articulate themselves, how to open their mouth and talk. They will say, Sorosoke, open your mouth and talk. Say what you feel. Don't pretend about the things that hurt you. In Africa, our parents used to be content with us being calm, being quiet and not airing our view. But you remember when I talked about depression? When people cannot express themselves and what hurts them, they feel a sense of internal rejection. They feel like if I share what I feel, I'll be rejected. And that hampers their self-esteem. That hampers their self-acceptance. That hampers their self-respect. So we must encourage our children to air their views. We should teach them how to do it responsibly and respectfully, but we must never take away their voice. And a parent to say, what do you mean? Differentiate between responsibly and respectfully. So let's say I came home and I made food. I made spaghetti. And that spaghetti tasted horrible. So I've trained my children that you don't talk nonsense. So one of my daughters came. Let's say I used a particular fish to cook the food, and that fish had gone bad. So it affected the taste of the food. A disrespectful child will say, Mom, what kind of nonsense is this? I can't eat that rubbish. That's disrespect. But a responsible child would say, Mommy, something is wrong with this food. It doesn't taste okay. Africans want to raise a child that will collect the food, eat it, and they say, this might begin. Anything where I give them, go eat that. Make you no eat and go get food poisoning, you go sleep for hospital. Let her tell you, Mommy, something is off with this food. I'm not quite sure. I saw a video 2 days ago of a little boy coming out of the school bus abroad, and as he landed, the mother was so excited to see him. He now said, Mommy, terrible sandwich, by the way, terrible sandwich. And his mother said, thank you for telling me. In Africa, he cannot say it's terrible now. Have you made sandwich before? Do you know what it took me to go to the grocery? So we need to encourage our kids to speak up, all right? These two things are closely related. Number 4, having a secure family identity. Children who thrive are children that feel loved. I want to emphasize the word feel. Some parents say, I'm telling her I love her now. I'm showing her that I love her. If I didn't love her, would I go for PTA? If I didn't love her, would I carry half of my salary to go and buy her graduation gown? She doesn't know what half of your salary means. She doesn't know the sacrifices you're making. Your children need to feel loved. Feel loved. Feel loved. You don't feel loved. Let me come and punk you there. So your children have to feel loved. But let me show you something you can do to know how they feel. One day I called my first daughter and told her, tell me a time that you didn't feel loved in this home. I want to know what I was doing at that time. The heavens opened. And she said, when Elena does something, that's her younger one, I find that I'm still held responsible for her own mistakes. Is that what it means to be a first daughter? When that happens, I don't feel loved. So me, I'm saying, I wrote her card, I pecked her, I hugged her. But in the moment where I blamed her for her sister's mistake, she didn't feel loved. She said, because I did not make consideration for what might have been happening to her at the time her sister was making a mistake. Children need a wholesome environment where they feel loved. And the parent can say, if they are feeling loved, how will we correct them? They can go together. For instance, when I tell parents that children need a safe space for feedback, when I started my family, I wanted to make sure that I did not raise a child that went for Nigerian Idol and her video would be trending for useless auditions. Because every time I watched an audition that the person didn't do well or their voice was broken, I would ask myself, didn't they have any member of the family to tell them, you don't quite have the voice? So I realized that in many homes, they call it loving, but they are patronizing. So children don't hear truth. Children don't hear actuals because everybody is trying to deal with mental health. Well, I have found a way to show my children love and to give them feedback and tell them the truth about what they need to work on. But what makes it work is that there's no shame in it, there's no blame in it, and I partner with them to say we're going to work on it together. So if one of my kids is having an issue, there's no shame, there's no blame. We call out the issue and we start to work on them. And then we tell them we're working with you, okay? I have seen one of my daughters scold the other one, and the other one said, oh, you know what, I'm working on this now. I'm talking to God about this. I'm working on it. I'm making effort. Recognize the effort. because we want to hold each other accountable. You get the idea? So for me, a secure home is a home that is a safe space where children can know that they're loved, feel that they're loved, receive feedback. There's room for accountability and there's room for growth. Remember, thriving comes out of adversity in many cases. So when our children encounter adversity, I want them to carry their bag and come in, tell us about their adversity. We call them out on the things we need to call them out. Then we all volunteer how we are going to support them and hold them accountable to come out of it so that they can experience growth. So a real solid family identity where people have where to go to when they need to talk, even about issues they're dealing with. That's what we must strive to give to our children. If your child went to school, had a crush, did something wrong, you should not hear it from anyone else. They should walk right home and tell you, Mommy, I made a mistake today. I messed up today. And you say, okay, let's talk. And she said, well, a boy in school asked me to kiss him, I did. And then we start to work, okay, what made it possible for you to do that? What made you do that? What were the thoughts you were having before that happened? What were the things you were thinking about before that happened? And then the child says, well, I thought if I didn't do it, he would go to the other girl. I say, well, we start to walk through it. Why are you scared of losing him? What value does he add to you? Are you picking him over God? And we will walk through the process. And then we say, go again. My daughter has had an elongated crush that we all knew that this one has become family emergency. And so when we are going to where this crush is, we'll enter the car and we do pep talk, and we go. And I have watched her overcome. So every time I see she's not having the triggers, I say, rate it for me. She said, I think we're at a 5. Now I think we're at a 5. We're at a 5. Support system. So the next time she's struggling with anything, she's not going to go outside to try to struggle alone. She's coming home for us to do it as a support system. Because thriving does not mean the absence of challenges. It's growing in spite of the challenges. And then finally, you must have family values. You must have what you stand for. Dear African parent, godly parents, you don't win parenting. What are your family values? Do you believe in telling lies? Do you believe in stealing? Do you believe in sex before marriage? Do you believe that children should watch anything on TV? Frame what your family values are. What many parents don't know is that children need structure and security. And family values provides exactly that. A sense of responsibility. There are things that people shouldn't be doing for your children when they get to a certain age. So when children have that security of a family value, they imbibe it. When they go outside and face adversity, they have a blueprint that they follow. They have a structure for their lives. And so I think that brings me to the next session, the last slide, which is that all this English that I'm speaking, it is Christ that is the anchor of it. It's Christ that is the reminder. When you finish talking and they go to school, the Holy Spirit is now doing the what's up. He's teaching them. He continues the message beyond where you stopped. So he's counting on you to start the conversation and then you will build on it. When it comes to family values, and then I'm tying it back to Christ, you must have a routine where your children pursue their own personal walk with God. Your children will not have a relationship with God that is an extension of you. You are their parents, but God is not a grandfather. That means that you're a son and your children are sons. That means you're a daughter and your children are daughters. And so in that vein, your children must find their way to God to know the assignment. Your children must find their way to God to learn how he talks to them, to learn how he instructs them. Because as much as we're preparing our children to thrive, there are new challenges that we may not have brought up at home that are ahead for them. But when they build a good relationship with the Holy Spirit, he is able to guide them beyond where you are. He is able to guide them beyond where you have taught them. So that brings me to the end of my session. Did I do 45 minutes? Interestingly, I did. So I'd like to hear questions that people have. Thank you so much.
Okay. Wow. I knew this session was going to be beautiful, but it was super duper beautiful. Like, it was amazing. Thank you. Super. All right. Auntie Irene will allow you to take your breath, please. Just, if you need to drink water, drink water. Because, Yes, just catch your breath. Catch your breath. All right.
Thank you.
So let's
Thank you so much.
drop our questions in the comment section. Let's drop our questions in the comment section. Okay? So while we take this break, you can start, dropping your questions in the comment section. All right?
Okay, while we wait questions, thank you once again, Ma, for being here. I have followed you for years. I have followed you for years myself. Can you hear me? Can I be heard?
Yes, I can very well.
So I don't have biological girls, but I think I'm one of the people that have recommended you to a lot of said something amazing. She said, after listening to Irene Bangwell, she banged it well into my head of my duties. Oh my God. So thank you so much for being here. While we wait for the questions, I know you do a lot of things. It amazes me how the 100 Naira school still runs. The 100 Naira a day school still runs even with all the inflation in the country. Can you tell us a little more about this, and then other things you do, the girls coaching program? This we want to know. How do we connect with this? How do we connect with you on this? Yes, please tell us a little more while we wait for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so much, Auntie Stella. This is amazing. So by God's grace, in September 2019, my husband and I had a witness to go start a secondary school for children from poor homes, September 2019. And the whole idea was that, how do we support families that are struggling financially, struggling to feed? Because we know that the moment there's no money to feed, the first thing to go is children's education. It's not prioritized because children become another stream of income. And so our goal was to say, look, if you're struggling financially, let your children's education not pay for it. Because when children's education pays for it, we perpetuate the cycle of poverty. And so what happened is we decided to set up this school. What it really cost us to keep one child in school in term is 66,000. Inflation has really done us something, right? But it's been 66,000 since September 2019. So what we did was we asked the families that we are taking care of the kids to pay only 6,000 naira a term. Now, out of 66,000, they're paying 6,000 naira a term. It is that 6,000 naira we said, you know what? You can pay 100 naira a day. You can pay 500 naira a week. You can pay 2,000 naira a month. Because remember, these are families that don't have. And the truth of the matter is that even the 100 naira a day is formality. Because for many of them, 100 naira a day is still a lot. And so how we've been able to keep our doors open is because of individuals and organizations. So remember, their families pay 6,000 and so we have 60K left. And so we ask people to come in and support them. And so we also tell people that, see, you can keep a child in school for 100 naira a day. It is standing on the premise that if 10 people give us 6,000 naira a term, they'll keep one child in school. Remember, this was happening at the time when Nigeria had become the world poverty capital. So what that meant was parents didn't have and donors didn't have. So we didn't want to tell anyone, say, pack 60K and support a child. Sweetheart, you're talking in the background. Thank you. My kids are here because since they came back from school, I've not made time for them. So the only way I can make time for them is for them to be in this session with me, past their bedtime today. I mean, or we will be good, right? So the remaining 60,000, the ones that I trust that care about me has slept. The other one that likes to pull out of me is still awake. I hope that encourages her to sleep, but it's okay. So back to my story. So the remaining 6,000, if 10 people give 6K, they'll keep a child in school. And so when we started with 30 children. Only one child was sponsored. She was sponsored by an association of women called Pillars of Love. By the second year, we had only 5 children sponsored out of 63. But we have a policy, whether they get a sponsor or not, we will rugged it together. Nothing is taking them out of school. Whether their parents can pay or not, whether they have sponsors or not, anyhow it is, we'll rugged it out. But we've seen the hand of God in the work, because by the third year, we got 33 children sponsored out of 82, fully. And then 20 were partly sponsored. This is our 4th school year. And 103 children out of 107 or so have been fully sponsored. Isn't that great? So we've seen the grace of God working in the hearts of people, individuals, organizations, coming out to see us and support us. Some are sponsoring children. We have other private schools making donations to support us to pay teachers. We've seen the hand of God in this work, so we are always open to support any way people can support our feeding program, because for 100 naira a day, the children have to get books, uniform, lunch, the girls get monthly sanitary pads, and they get STEM-based education. The reason we're doing that is that for poor children, feeding will be a problem. They won't eat to school. We don't want to waste the effort, all right? So we want them to be sure that there's lunch. For poor girls, when they're on their periods, that's 7 days out of school. So we want to make sure they have pads. Nothing is keeping you away from school. Because we know. One time the Holy Spirit was talking to me, he said, without education, there will be no Christianity in Africa. The more people know, the more they can access God. Education is a mind opener. And sometimes we forget that the first thing the missionaries did when they got into Africa was set up schools. So if missionaries have stopped coming, we ought to become our own missionaries. And so I'm really grateful to God. As I'm talking to you, we were able to buy land last year. And we're currently doing a building fundraiser so that we can move into that property. On Monday, we started our first external exams. We're now in a fully accredited school. Our kids are writing NECO, Beche at GSS 3 level. They're writing NECO Beche, they're writing the Education Resource Center Beche as well. God has been faithful. And so I find that every time I go out there to invite people to partner with us, it ends up being a testimony night. But I just want people to know that God is supporting us, and He's supporting us through people like you. Whether you're watching live or watching replay, there's something you can do. Even if it means telling someone to tell someone. The more people talk about us, the more help comes. And at the same time, too, it's also a reminder to every one of us listening that if God is asking you to do something, you should step out. The help will meet you along the way. So I don't know why that's the pusher that always comes. So that's the first thing that I do. That's my day job, all right? That's my day job. But I've also been called to girls. It started out when my first daughter was born in the hospital. I had this conviction that God needed me to create a template for raising girls. It wasn't very clear at the time, but it keeps coming clearer. And so right now, I have a witness to help girls in 3 ways. The first way is to teach them sex education. The second way is to support them when they are struggling with sexual issues. So I don't shy away from girls that have shared their needs, that are addicted to porn, because there is help. And God is equipping us steadily to help them. And then the third way we're helping girls is to ignite ambition, godly ambition, wholesome ambition, not anti-men and ambition. I'm sure you get my point. We're not trying to say girls versus boys. No. Wholesome, godly ambition in girls. Because I feel like I'm sitting down here and there is a nurse school, and it was an idea God planted in my heart. And because of me, and then an amazing husband, we can team up and create that solution. What if I kept doubting myself? What if I kept doubting my own gifts and talent? He won't be there. My husband has always been a very visionary guy. I mean, he's always wanting to do big things, solve big problems. But what if, when I first met him, I used to count myself out of these things. And so also being a girl that struggled with a lot of trauma from being neglected by my father, I've struggled with quite a lot. So I see God bringing me to a place where I can handle good girls. I'm currently working with an amazing
Okay, I think we're having a little network challenge now. She's out. Hopefully, hopefully she'll be back soon. Okay.
Welcome out.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yes, but I need to be drawing the curtain line. So I was saying that I'm currently working with an amazing girl whose parents are separated, and she has all this trauma all over her. And so, sorry, don't admit me. I was trying to join with my phone. I'm seeing all of this trauma around her, and I feel like God has brought me this far to bring me this far. So it's an honor for me to be able to do those two things, run the non-profit school, and then be able to support girls. Remember, I'm providing them sex education. If they're struggling with sexual issues, I'm able to be there. And by God's grace, we're able to ignite some, ambition in them, where they see that they have an assignment and they have a call on their life. I need to give someone a peck 1 minute. All right. So they have to relocate from my office because people have started sleeping off and everything. So that's it for me. And it's a privilege because I know the people in my childhood, you know how you're growing up in the neighborhood and they say, that's a girl, her mother had her at 19, she doesn't have a dad, they make fun of you. And then God takes your life and makes something out of it. So I'm very passionate about helping girls find their place in God. They don't need to be broken to have a place in God. You don't need to be from a single home to have a bright future. That's God's template for everyone. And so that's my goal. And so in the course of working with girls, I'm working with their parents. We've launched some new programs. I don't like the reception we got from parents because they were very valuable programs. The parents that came participated well, but the numbers, we didn't like the numbers because there were major issues. So we are beginning to redesign those programs and launch it for girls. For example, we want to launch a class for girls that are 14 that is essentially on dating. What should they know before they leave home around dating? So we called it Ready to Date. The parents that came it was 6 hours class, and most of the parents stayed from beginning to end, and they were like, nobody even taught me this. How do you do that for 12, 15 parents when you need 1,000 girls to know about it? So we're redesigning some of those programs we do for parents, for girls, because we want to reach our target audience. In case parents want to be the glove in our wheel of progress. So people can follow us on our handle on Instagram, raising-girls.ng, so that they keep getting updates as they become available. Auntie Stella, I have come to the end of myself today.
Wow, thank you.
Myself today.
Thank you so much. So please, I know you heard all she said. Your 500 naira will keep a child in school. 500.
Yes.
Less than your money for a recharge card. Less than your. Less than everything.
Absolutely.
So please look out. I wish you could. Can you just give your account number in case someone just wants to write it, and then people will watch the North School 100 naira a day account for people who would want to. Okay. Please just do this for ATQ, knowing that by a child, take a child out of the street into school, you are also answering a tough question. So, 100, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, as the Lord blesses. Please.
So I'm actually typing the account number now. Okay. I'm typing it so that what I can be pinned on the streaming platform. 048 282 1015. That's the account number, GT Bank, 048 282 1015. Thank you so very much. And if you work in an office as well and your organization wants to do something like an outreach or CSR, your organization can build a classroom in the name of your company. And brand it, will host your CEO, because we want to make enough connections with the outside world where children meet successful people investing in them, and they can have knowledge sharing, faith building experiences for the children. I want to thank every one of you. Thank you, Auntie Stella, Silas, Haida, Vera, everyone on the call making this happen. And for the next couple of weeks, a couple of days, I pray that God strengthens you guys, across every session and makes this the most impactful, transformational time for everyone. God bless you.
God bless you. Someone is sending that love. Someone is sending thumbs up. Thank you. Well done, Ma. I have learned a lot from you tonight and the good work with the school. Hopefully, you'll get support from ATQ. Thank you so much once again, Ma, for being here.
Thank you so much, Ma.
Thank you so much, Vera, for being an amazing host tonight. Our time is spent, and it's a good time to go. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for participating. Tomorrow's session will be hot. Another 3-part speakers. So please, you just can't miss this. And hopefully we'll be able to stream on YouTube and Facebook tomorrow by God's grace. Tomorrow we are having Miss Kauna Bako, and she'll be talking on the power of environmental influence on children. That will be happening 10 a.m. And then we'll be having Mr. Abibo Berepele by 4:30 p.m. 4:30 p.m. And then he'll be talking to us on the impact of porn and sex addiction on children and teens. And 8 p.m. we'll be having our very own Mr. David Folaremi, and he'll be talking to us on substance abuse, what we need to know. These are sessions you should not miss. Please set your time, set your calendar, set your time, set your diary to remind you to be a part of this show tomorrow, to be a part of this conference tomorrow. So God bless you. Have a wonderful night's rest. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.